Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving into the unique, historic, and, frankly, absolutely fascinating landscape of the United States in the year 2026. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the 2026 national landscape, then move into America's 250th birthday, compare America 250 versus Freedom 250, check out events across the nation, and wrap up with controversies and public reactions. All right, kicking things off with Part 1, the 2026 national landscape.
To ground us in reality, let's take a look at the BMO Capital Markets U.S. Economic Outlook, which just dropped days ago on June 12, 2026. This basically gives us the baseline financial heartbeat of the country. It's the economic reality that every citizen, and frankly, every event planner, is navigating as the nation gears up for its big milestone year.
But while the economists were busy crunching those numbers down here on Earth, NASA was literally shooting for the stars. In April, they successfully launched the Artemis II mission. And get this, if you look closely at those solid rocket boosters, they proudly feature the America 250 logo. They literally took the birthday party into space.
And the scale of this milestone is just staggering. We are talking about the first flight beyond Earth orbit since way back in 1972. It officially set the record for the furthest crewed spaceflight in human history. Plus, the crew was incredibly historic all on its own. It included the first woman, the first black man, and the first Canadian to ever travel around the moon. It really pushed human exploration further than ever, perfectly timed for the national birthday.
Okay, moving right along into Part 2, America's 250th birthday. Now, you might hear some serious tongue twisters thrown around in the news lately. Words like semi-quincentennial or a sesquicentennial. Yeah, try saying those 5 times fast. But really, the only crucial thing to remember is that July 4th, 2026 marks exactly 2.5 centuries since the adoption of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. It is a massive, once-in-a-generation event. Which brings us to Part 3, America 250 versus Freedom 250.
So how do you even begin to plan a party for an entire country? Well, currently we have 2 completely different planning committees trying to steer the ship. On one side, there's America 250. This is a bipartisan commission set up by Congress all the way back in 2016. But on the other side, you've got Freedom 250, which was established much more recently in 2025 by a White House executive order led by President Donald Trump and political appointees. So we have 2 totally distinct groups with very different origins trying to define the exact same day. To really grasp the firepower behind Freedom 250, just look at this number. $68.3 million. That's the funding they received from the Department of the Interior by April 2026 alone. With that massive financial backing, this newly formed White House task force was able to rapidly scale up its vision and focus heavily on incredibly splashy, high-profile events. And speaking of those events, let's jump into Part 4, events across the nation. The festivities going on out there are pretty wild in their variety. The year kicked off in May with the Rededicate 250 prayer gathering on the National Mall. Then, in June, we actually saw an unprecedented professional sports event, a live UFC fight held in a temporary arena right on the south lawn of the White House. Looking ahead to July, there's a special Times Square ball drop planned for the 3rd to count down to midnight, followed by the massive OpSale International Fleet Review in New York Harbor on the 4th. But it's not just singular events. Historically significant cities are seeing huge civic investments. Boston is dropping $25 million to overhaul the Dorchester Heights Monument. And they're doing this incredible art project where 100,000 citizens are tying a 4-mile-long rope to commemorate George Washington's troops. Philadelphia planted 76 commemorative trees at Independence Park. And across the whole country, the U.S. is sharing the global spotlight by co-hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup, right alongside all these birthday celebrations. Philadelphia is also taking a much longer view. This July 4th, they are burying a time capsule that will remain sealed until the year 2276. That will be the nation's 500th birthday. It really puts everything we're doing right now into a much larger historical perspective, doesn't it? Now, as you can probably guess, not everything has gone off without a hitch. Out in California, a live-fire military demonstration at Camp Pendleton actually resulted in shrapnel raining down onto a closed section of Interstate 5, hitting parked highway patrol vehicles. It's a pretty stark reminder of the sheer logistical headache and the physical risks of hosting large-scale active military demos near civilian infrastructure. And that leads us right into our final section, Part 5,
controversies and public reactions. To give you a real sense of the current climate, several musical artists publicly boycotted the Freedom 250 Great American State Fair concert series, citing concerns over it being heavily politicized. In response to that, President Trump proposed replacing the concerts entirely. He said, and I quote, "Cancel it. We should have a giant Make America Great Again rally for 250 instead of having overpriced sinners." It really highlights how these national celebrations have become a huge focal point for political debate.
All of this is unfolding against a backdrop of pretty deep public division. You've probably felt the tension yourself. Polls have actually been reporting record low levels of patriotism. Meanwhile, millions of Americans have joined nationwide No Kings protests that are directly coinciding with official military parades. And those boycotts? They extended way beyond just musicians. 7 state governments have actually pulled out of the Great American State Fair.
Behind the scenes, the administrative clash is just as intense. According to sources, $10 million was diverted from the bipartisan America 250 Commission to fund conservative freedom trucks for the Freedom 250 group. At the exact same time, federal agencies began applying presidential branding directly to government documents. The State Department and Interior Department started issuing official U.S. passports and national park passes that feature President Trump's face.
This branding effort even reached the U.S. Mint, which sparked some serious pushback. Donald Scrunici, the acting chairman of the Citizens Coinage Advisory Committee, heavily criticized a proposed coin featuring this sitting president. He argued, quote, "Only those nations ruled by kings or dictators display the image of their sitting ruler on the coins of the realm."
And we're talking about a massive departure from tradition here. The Mint proposed a 2-headed $1 commemorative coin featuring Trump. Appointees started printing $100 bills with the president's signature, replacing the Secretary of the Treasury, and they even produced mock-ups for a new $250 banknote bearing his portrait. Currency experts have been waving red flags, warning that these actions directly challenge federal laws prohibiting living people from being put on U.S. coinage.
So, when we step back and look at the big picture, we are witnessing a totally unprecedented year. Humans are traveling farther into space than ever before, billions of dollars are moving through the economy, and a 250th national birthday is being marked by incredible spectacle, but also historic polarization. How will this crazy mix of monumental achievement and deep division be remembered by future generations? When they finally open up that time capsule in 2276, what story will they say 2026 actually told? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll see you next time.